Hey guys, welcome to today's live stream. I hope you have a great day, and today we're going to talk about learning plans. We're going to talk about how to learn data engineering, and can show you how I have done this with my coaching students. I'll give you please a quick feedback. So I see people on YouTube here. Are there people on LinkedIn? Because somehow I think the LinkedIn profile, my LinkedIn profile doesn't show that I'm live. I don't know why. It just does not show that I'm live. It's super strange. I don't know if they have changed this. Yeah. So, okay, I hope you can hear me. Put a 1 in the chat if you are able to see me and hear me. If you have questions along this, put them in the chat. I'm going to answer the chat here immediately. Yeah, so let's quickly talk about this. And what I have done, I have prepared for you today a quick board where I show you my process, how to do this, and we're going to talk about it. All right, great. I see once. Okay, everything's right. Good. Thanks, guys. The thing is always people ask me, Andreas, how can I learn data engineering? What's the right thing for me, right? And I know it's not that easy, but for instance, I have done this today. No, not today. Last week, I have done this for all of my new coaching students. And I just want to show you the process because I think the process is going to help you along the way. Not necessarily just for data engineering, but generally, I think it's a good process. And I tried this with my students and it works. So how I'm doing fine. If I look strange today, I have that blood pressure monitor on today because I had a bit of a problem with the blood pressure a few weeks ago and 2 weeks ago or something. And now I finally got the chance to have one of these things the whole day. So it's taking a measurement every 15 minutes. So that means if I look strange in around 10 minutes, it's this. So what did I want to say? Okay, so let's get into it, guys. I hope you're ready. So I think you all know it, but let me quickly show you what I am talking about. I'm talking here in my Data Engineering Academy at learndataengineer.com. I have a coaching program, right? A coaching program that's not just bootcamps where I'm basically helping people every step of the way, or we are. It's not just me. And one of the key things in here is that in the beginning we work and we look at a learning plan and try to find the best plan for the students' requirements or their goals and build the learning plan. If you're interested in this, by the way, we have the waiting list online right now. The next round is going to start end of this month, but for now there's the waiting list. So you can just click this here and you will get to a form and just enter your name and email and get on the wait list. So yeah, so that's the idea. Now with the coaching, let's look at a few people that are in the coaching plan. There are actually 10 people. The 10th I haven't on this list, but doesn't matter. Absolutely doesn't matter. Now, when you look at the jobs, right? Senior data engineer, data analyst, lead BI analyst, so already 2 analysts, senior consultant, a Python developer, a data analyst, and another one, software developer / data engineer, right? That fits very well to Python developer, a technical coach from the US, and a software / data engineer from France, right? So these, thanks guys, all good. Thank you. I'm going to be fine. Everything's fine. This is just a precaution. So I hope everything will be, or it is. So, so the thing is, when you look at these jobs, right, we would think that here's a data analyst and here's a data analyst. These 2 people need to learn the same thing, but that's actually absolutely not the case. These are 2 very different people with 2 very different backgrounds, with 2 very different goals. And that's why, for me, this is so important to not just have this as a bootcamp, but have this as a coaching program where I can help people with their goals. And how we do this is basically, in the beginning, I created a form for them that they fill out. And the idea with this is, and I recommend this to everyone, look at jobs, look at job posting. I tell them here to link 3 jobs that would actually be interesting for them to get to learn for them, or no, not learn, to join, right? These are jobs they want to do, where I can then later extract the information out of them. What are the skills? What are the tools? What are the platforms, right? That's one thing. And then I also let them write custom goals, or tell me more about your goals, because everybody, as I said, has different goals. So this is also something for you. You should write down, okay, these are the jobs that I want to do, find out about them. Then think about, okay, what would be goals for me that I want to achieve, right? So I hope you do this before you just join a job or just look for different jobs. Think about your goals. What do you want to do? And for me, it's important, this information, so I know, okay, where do they want to go? What are jobs in the categories? And what goals do they already say they have? And then I can look at their CV that they upload. This doesn't need to be a perfect CV. I always say this needs to be just a CV where we have where we can talk about, and where I can take out the information out of it, and where I can look back and then figure out what's the best way to do this. Now, I recommend for you, now go on to ChatGPT. I've done this also partly with ChatGPT, the easy stuff, listing down the stuff, or extracting the information from the job descriptions, because that is always helpful, especially if you're not 100% sure what is what, because you're a beginner. This absolutely makes sense, because then you could ask ChatGPT about this further. Now, what I do is basically I extract the information here, I look at their custom goals, and I look at their CV, and then I make a comparison of, okay, what's job 1, job 2, job 3, and what are the skills that the student already has. And this, we'll look through this like data pipeline workflow management, big data tools, cloud platforms, databases, stream processing, scripting languages, data modeling and warehousing, and government security, and so on, certifications. I think that is a good way of looking at this. These are good categories to actually figure out, okay, what does somebody have, and what does somebody where people are missing out, right? So you would say, okay, now in this example, what's one of the examples here? Like you can see here, Postgres, MongoDB. The student already has Postgres knowledge. MS or SQL Server, Management Studio, Oracle. So most likely they already know about relational databases. They already know about document stores. Of course, I need a bit more information out of the CV for this and their goals that they already talked about. And then basically you can very easily figure out, okay, what are the tools or what are the required skills that people need for these jobs. Now this is, now that I look at it, this is not as a clear example that I copied out here, because very often you find here, for instance, Spark, and you find for instance, BigQuery, or you find DBT, and then you can see, okay, what is used in which job, right? In these jobs, Python. The student has experience here, Python, JavaScript, React, TypeScript, CSS, Linux, Bash. So most likely the coding part is already done, right? The coding part is easy, is no problem for that student. And so we don't have to worry about this. Now, what I do, is that clear? Any of you, have you done this? Have you done this kind of a process before when you look for a job? Let's put a 1 in the chat if you have, put a 2 in the chat if you don't. That would be super interesting to hear. Have you thought about this? 1 yes, 2 no. Because that is actually, it works. So from there, what I do is basically I formulate goals, right? Learn more about ETL processes and data lakes would be 1. Gain experience with Azure. In our case, that's the Hurricane project that we have in the academy. And especially in this case, this person has already experience working with geospatial data. So it's right down their alley. And also, like, goal 3 would be gain experience with AWS stream and batch processing, right? So that is here an example. Now, how I'm doing this usually is I'm looking through what is in the academy that can help this person, right? These are all the courses that I have in the academy. And then I say, okay, these are the goals. Like, first of all, I do a bit of basics. In this, I added Python for data engineers because this person already has Python skills, but I think a bit more for processing data that is important to actually understand, to actually work with, processing data, requesting data from APIs, and so on. I put in also here successful job application. That is one of the courses we have, because that has templates of how to document your work that the coaching student is going to do here, right? Then what everybody needs, platform pipeline design basics, so that they understand what I'm talking about. Choosing data stores and schema design data stores, that is one, or there are 2 parts where they're about the different types of data stores, relational, dimensional, basically data warehousing, all types of NoSQL databases. And then in this 2.4 part, this is where it's all about how, now that you know all these data stores, how would you model data so this works with these data stores? And that is like, soon next week we're going to release data modeling 3, dimensional data modeling. That also makes sense, right? So with that, I think all the basics are done for this person, and then they have the opportunity to go after these goals. Also, the successful job application course has a CV template and hints of how to write a good CV. Right? So, and then I basically created 3 goals here. These are these 3 goals. And how I'm doing this with my students, and that is something that I also recommend for you, is now I have here in this goal, we'll learn more about ELT processes and data lakes. I have my course Snowflake for data engineers, the Docker fundamentals part, because they need this for DBT, and then DBT. Okay? So this is one of these goals. And how I do this is basically I go over here and I create them a pipeline design. So this is how this project is going to look like. We have Snowflake here. We have, actually, this should go here. we have dbt as the processing, and then we have Power BI on the right side for visualization. And how to get the data is first put the data in from the local PC, and then use AWS S3 to actually have the data ingested into Snowflake, or use as a lake house to actually query the data directly from S3. Right? So this is basically this way the students know how does this look, what are the parts, and this is a simple pipeline. Like for the second one, for the Azure pipeline, they know here we get the data from through API management. This will lead to a Azure function, and this will write data into blob storage here, and then it will go into an event hub for streaming through a function into Cosmos DB, and then Power BI actually they access the data. So this is quite real world like. This is for this Hurricane data set, and this is basically what I want them to do. I want them to start with the prepared parts of the academy, so this way they can get into AWS, or they get into GCP or into Azure. They start working with it, and then I want them to basically make these projects their own. I want them to go in, I want them to change the data set out to a different data set. I want them to do the data modeling new, because in this we wrote data into Cosmos DB here, right? Where is it? Here, this was writing data into Cosmos DB. I want them to go out and, because they are changing the data here that comes in, model this differently. How would you put this into Cosmos DB for your use case? And then we're going to talk about how to solve this use case. Right? And so this way, this is how people basically go through this. Figure out who is it, what are their goals, what jobs do they want, what can they do, then figure out, okay, how does everything fit together? And also with the stuff that with the over 30 courses that I have in the academy, and then I built these goals and basically the roadmap for them how to do this, right? So for goal number 2, experience with Azure, I put in just the Azure course, and then with stream and batch processing on AWS, I put in data engineering on AWS that has a stream pipeline, batch pipeline that works with Redshift and so on, and then a lakehouse part here with 4.5. And then if they want, they can do 4.6 machine learning and containerization on AWS. And I think with that, this is absolutely enough for someone to do, to learn data engineering, to get into data engineering. I think this is, this is perfect. And now, how does this continue, right? I built them these designs. What do? I'm going to do, or I already have done this with a part of the students. I'm doing a one-on-one meeting with everyone, right? So this way I can figure out, okay, what are the students' goals that I think? How does that fit to what they're telling me, how they react on what I'm telling them, and this way we can modify the plan again. Here we can modify the goals, we can modify which parts to take in which order, and we can modify the data pipelines. And this way they have the perfect plan for them. And then afterwards they can jump into the group coaching sessions, they can ask stuff on Discord and so on. So that's the plan. But yeah, for you should do this the same way. Like figure out, okay, what are my goals? What do I want to do? Which jobs do I want to get? Which skills am I missing? Right? And then if you're part of the academy or not, then look into which courses or which things can I take to actually fulfill these goals. And then build a platform and pipeline design, which are the individual steps, what tools do you need, and then start building it. Right. Let me know your questions, guys. I'm here. I'm here to help. So around this, this process, I think, is very important. It's super important. No, doesn't. Ricardo asks here, does this need to be adjusted for more senior data engineering roles? Not really. Of course, they're going to take more difficult parts. They are going to do then afterwards more modification on this. Very often also we're doing a bit more custom, let's say custom work, but like from these guys here, the only guy that is different here is the technical coach from Iowa, right, from the US, because that technical coach has a lot of experience already. So we're going to meet actually tomorrow, and we're going to figure out, okay, how can I help him best, and what to do. But for lead analysts, for data engineers, there are already data engineers, for senior data engineers, we found a really good plan for them, because they're always missing parts that I have, and yeah, it's usually not a big problem to modify this. How many hours a day can somebody dedicate to learning Python to move faster? Well, I mean, how many hours a day can somebody dedicate? Well, the more the better, I would say, Greg. The more the better. If you can spend 2 hours, that's great. If you can spend 3, you will go further faster, right? I think just the one tip from my side is, don't make this too complicated. Don't think you need to learn everything in Python to then advance, for instance, in data engineering. You don't need to learn everything. Get to a point where, if you have a problem, you can Google it and you can understand what does the solution on Google look like, and how does this work. There are so many things that you will get to when you actually apply it. So don't wait for applying it until you have figured out everything. I think especially if you already have some experience with coding, you will get very fast into Python. What stage in the roadmap do you believe one is adequately prepared to being applying for entry-level data engineer roles? Very quickly. I mean, entry-level roles. Let's say so I don't have any really entry-level people here. I have people who are, as you've seen, a lot of people are data analysts or developers, and they just need to make the switch to data engineers, so they're not starting from zero. That's why I always recommend, like, someone who is a data analyst, start with this coming from the analyst side. So look into, for instance, Snowflake and dbt, like I have, or look into, I don't know, on AWS with Redshift and these kind of things, because this will help you, let's say, make a more slow transition into it than a hard cut. A hard cut is never really easy. But let's say you're only good on AWS, you're only taking here. Let's say you're going through the fundamentals here, or the basics here, and then you're just doing the AWS one here, this one, and maybe this one. You're already job ready. This is like super easy. This is for you. It's not a big deal. What parts of my that was the second part here. No, that's another question. So generally just apply to jobs. It's like, you will never be 100% ready, and you will never be 100% terrible. So just get into that process of applying. I was applying for a lot of data engineering positions, and recently given feedback that my resume was more catered towards analysts than data engineer. what parts of my resume should I look at to cater my resume towards data engineering? Well, without knowing your CV, it's difficult. I have 4 years of experience, but the titles are not explicitly data engineering. Well, that doesn't matter. So forget about the titles. I think the most... It's difficult because I don't know your resume, but I would say, now if the title doesn't fit, but you have done the engineering work, you understand how to work on one of the cloud platforms, for instance, or you understand how to work with Spark and Kafka, for instance. You worked with transforming a lot of data, worked with APIs, that kind of things. You've done data modeling on relational databases, on dimensional data stores, and so on. This kind of things you need to bring forward. So talk less about the actual analyzing data, visualizing data, talk more about processing data, the tools that you use, the techniques that you use, the problems that you solved. I think that is one of the problems you might have in your CV. And also make sure that the individual, or what people very often do is they make very small bullets, like have a bullet, small text, have a bullet, small text, have a bullet, small text. Make it longer, explain better what you have done, exactly with what tools you have done, and I think you can get better. Are you a student of the academy, Yala? Then you could send us the CV. But yeah. Bio. What was your first question, bio? Oh, no. The problem is I am yet to see an entry-level data engineering job. What could be the problem? People are not looking for entry-level jobs. That's the thing. So you need to gain experience in data engineering without how should I say this? Let me rephrase this. This is always the hen and egg problem, right? Can you become a data engineer? Or to become a data engineer, you need to have experience, but you can't get experience, right? Because you're not a data engineer. So if you're already in a job like a data analyst, I would say, okay, start by adding data engineer experience. Just what I told Yala about the CV. Start adding data engineering experience. Start building personal projects. Start doing like these things that people do in my academy and in the coaching. Start like showing what you can do, and if you have done this also in your CV, put this in this way. You will get, or you're able to get the job. The thing is, why there are not a lot of data engineer junior jobs, because a lot of people, especially in smaller companies or mid-sized companies, they're always searching for immediate job fills. They're searching for people who are immediately up on the productivity. They don't need to teach them. That is a bit of a problem. And right now, I know it's difficult because there are data engineering jobs and there are 200 applicants. So yeah, it's not easy. As I said, also don't make the switch. Don't try to completely make a switch. If you're already a software developer, try to slowly grow into that role. Do you provide support for folks that have issues with real life work project? Not really. I have done this, but this is in my old coaching. I've done this. The problem is this is very time consuming, and it's very difficult for people because very often they can't show what they are doing. They don't want to show this, and I don't do one-on-one sessions. Usually this is done in one-on-one sessions. Otherwise this doesn't make sense and can get you in big trouble. So this would only be able to do or worth doing in one-on-one sessions, and then one-on-one sessions, we would need to price this up. So this will become some kind of, in a business sense, useful. So difficult. Yeah. Yeah. So then, I mean, my message for today is already done. Like, I wanted to show you this. I wanted to show you this process, how you can do this as well. And just with a bit of help, what I'm going to do, and I thought about this because I built this for the students, and I get very often the feedback that, Andreas, there is a lot of stuff in the academy. How can I fit this together? Most likely I'm going to start building here self-paced bootcamps and basically help people turn this into or build this for certain topics, like for AWS, for streaming with Spark and Kafka and so on. I actually got a very interesting email about this week where somebody said, can't you build this for us and make this cheaper for us in a way? And I think it makes sense to have a few self-paced bootcamps that actually use the resources in the academy to have it structured and have you even better a roadmap of what to do. I have experience of data engineering fundamentals with SSIS and job schedulers only. No cloud hardware. Much of data engineering would one be? How much? Also, how much of data engineering would one be considered? I mean, nowadays you should have knowledge of the cloud. This is without cloud knowledge, it's becoming very difficult without cloud knowledge to be a data engineer, because everybody's on the cloud, everybody's doing this. So yeah. When taking the courses in the academy, do you recommend diving deeper into a particular tool by supplementing it with a book, or is it okay to just understand what's covered in the course? So this is how I built my academy, the course in the academy, and this is how you should continue. And I think you already are on the right path. Now, my goal with what is in the academy is to give you the fundamentals of how can I use this in a practical manner. How does this work? How can I use this in a practical manner? Very often in conjunction with a project where we have some data and let's work with the data, right? Of course, if you then would use this in a job, you would use a lot more of this tool. But with what you get from the academy is basically to a level where you can then, or where you're able to self-improve. And that is very important for me. I don't want to build 5-hour courses that nobody goes through because nobody uses it. But if you understand it, if you know the basics, if you know how to do the basic things, and you switch out the data, you switch out the problem, and then you will run into problems using this, and then you will automatically start learning this and go deeper and optimize it and learn new functionality because you're now able to actually use it, right? So I have done this 1,000 times, where like back in the days when I worked at Bosch and I had my and I had a project that I started working on, needed to figure out how does the basics work with that tool, and then I got myself a book. Very often I got myself a book for Spark, for back in the day HBase, for Hadoop, also for coding, And this way, then I could look up what is needed and what is missing or a problem. Or just then go on to Google, and you have a problem, Google this, because then, as I said, then you're able to self-improve, because you know the basics, you know how this works, you know where the problem might be, and that is super important and very useful. Now the question here from Yala, finally, do we just sign up for the wait list, or are there other items on the list? Well, the thing is, how I handle this with my students is, if you're already in the academy and you want to join the coaching, we're going to give you the refund for the amount that you already paid. Now, let's say you're starting now, you're not sure about the coaching, get the academy, start with the academy, and then once the coaching opens, you buy the coaching and tell us, Andreas, or before you send us an email and say, Andreas, I already purchased unlimited access. Can I have a discount for that, for the coaching? And then we are going to deduct this from your payment. So this is how this works. If you know Python and if you know a bit of SQL, then you'll be fine, I think. But when people come without absolutely zero, or with absolutely zero coding experience, that is always like, oh, that's too difficult. Because that is very frustrating, because they need time to learn the coding before they can even get to solving the goals that we create with them. Thanks, that helps. Do you know of any database administrators with a SQL background, background, who have transitioned into data engineering? Have you come across any challenges or tips you recommend? I can ask this my students. I know we have database developers in there. Did I have also database developers back in the day in the old coaching? The thing is, that is an interesting point. Last Friday we had the first kickoff meeting for the coaching, where everybody was here, and we were talking about this a bit. Not especially this question, but I think this fits very well. Earlier, you had the job of a database administrator, you had the job of a software developer, and now, or a data analyst, and now all these jobs are basically merging together, right? So from your standpoint, what you need to understand now is how can you build the infrastructure around your relational database, around your database, this SQL database that you already know how to manage. This is one part, because every pipeline needs a database, or every project needs a database. That is where the data is stored. Very often we still rely on SQL databases. So this is important, but you need to basically build knowledge around it. How can I extract data from a data source? How can I make sure that the data quality is good? How can I transform the data? Like a simple ETL process, and then how can I load this into a relational database, right? This kind of things you need to understand. How does the data platform work? How do I design a data platform? I think these are the things you need to build around your knowledge, basically from your knowledge outside, adding more stuff to it. And that is one of the things that is very important for a lot of people. Like if you're a database developer, very often they don't have knowledge in coding. So that is something where people actually need to progress, where people need to first go to start with coding. When presenting our project or your project, would you recommend simply pushing it on GitHub, or is it better to create a personal website to showcase our achievements? what would be best approach to stand out? Well, if you like, you can do both. You can do both. Personal websites, the thing is very often, do you really want to host one or get one? Or do you want to just have a good GitHub template, a good GitHub README for the projects, where it has a nice overview, it has a good explanation what you've done, which problems you solved, which problems came up, of the actual pipeline of the data, and this way basically show this to people. There are a ton of opportunities. You could also say, instead of getting a website, do this on LinkedIn, right? Or create a Substack for this, and then do this. But the GitHub is very valuable, especially for you, as a repository of your work and of what you have done, but also to show it to other people. So there is no clear do this, do that. I think it's a combination. I would say get a GitHub, push the stuff to GitHub, make a good documentation on GitHub, and then and then have some other place where you share it, where people actually look at it. And for recruiters, they most likely are going to look you up on LinkedIn. So put information about it on LinkedIn. I mean, that absolutely makes sense. Yeah, I know for people from India, it's difficult right now. It's difficult to purchase it. The problem is Teachable doesn't have a parity pricing system. So we can give you a further discount on the Academy if you send us an email. For people from India and so on, we do this regularly, but we can't bring the costs. Most likely, we can't bring the costs so far down that it's useful for you. I know that is a problem, and for me, that's always like difficult. But I would also say, if you like, you don't need to spend money. Go on YouTube. There are a ton of tutorials on YouTube where you can start with stuff. Start with Python. Start with processing data on Python. Go here. Basically, you could go to my Academy. Like, look. This will take you a bit longer, but here's what you could do. Oh, where's the here? So you could just go to the Academy. You could go to all courses, and then start with, let's say, where's the Python? Python for data engineers, right? Go there. Scroll completely down. Look at the curriculum, right? What is so important here? Classes, modules, exception handling, logging, working with datetime, JSON validation, unit testing, pandas here, NumPy, requests, working with databases, working with database tables, bulk loading, and so on, right? This way, I'm 100% sure if you go to Google, or if you go to ChatGPT, it can send you to resources where you can learn this. And then just give it a try. Just work through this. You can do this on your own. It will take longer, of course, because you don't have prepared material, but you can absolutely do this. Cost is nowadays is not the issue, or not the problem, because you get a lot of stuff free. The only thing is time. So you need to spend a bit more time on this. Look through YouTube tutorials. Look through tutorials on, I don't know, Udemy or whatever. Well, Udemy I also have to pay. Google it and look through Google. There are solutions for this. It's just going to take you more time. Yeah, guys. That was an awesome stream. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all the great questions. We're going to chat next week again. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to be here on Tuesday or on Thursday. We have to see. But yeah, I hope you have a few awesome days left in this week. The weekend is around the corner, and if you want to learn data engineering, check out learndataengineering.com, where you can on the first page, basically, for who is this, the left side here, that's the academy. Over 30 courses, over 500 video lessons, over 50 hours of content, 24/7 access. And the right side here is the coaching. So you can also just go to the coaching and join the coaching waiting list. And or get the academy and join the coaching later, whatever you want. Or just subscribe to this on YouTube and come here in the next live stream. Oh, by the way, one more thing I want to show you. If you don't know the podcast, we have a podcast, and the podcast is Plumbers of Data Science. Right? So take a look at this here. So if you're interested, search Plumbers of Data Science podcast. We send out an episode every Monday and every Friday. You can have this, or you can watch this here, and also you can become a guest on the podcast, and you can also listen to this if you want on all major platforms for podcasting. So when you look at an episode, then you can pop this open here. This is how you can join, be a guest, and listen here to all the podcast stations. Basically, we click here, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and so on. So we're basically everywhere on the major platform. Yeah. Again, have a great one. See you next.